All right, so let's go ahead and hook this up to our flow. So if we go into our flow, let's do this drop down menu, and we can see now we can select test Twilio handler. And now we want to enter in some function parameters. So the function parameters, we want to match the parameters with the headers that we have. So so I might have, phases, what in my study. So I'm going to say that I'm in phase 1. So this is going to be just a hard-coded value, and I'm going to save that. I might update that later. Then I have the date. The date we looked at in the function, that's something that I'm doing in code and then adding on to the event object. This phase is something that I added on to the parameters, and that will be reflected in the event object. To be more in sync with what my survey is actually doing, let's change this to intro. So this gets changed to intro, this gets changed to intro. And then let's add one more for Q2. And this will be widgets dot Q2 dot inbound dot body. So I'm going to record whatever the response was to that inbound question. I can do Q3 as well. Keep in mind Q3 won't be answered at this point in the survey, but that's a really good opportunity to see how it'll handle something like that. So let's do Q3 widgets dot intro dot inbound dot body. Okay, so I have 4 parameters here. I have a couple more headers, but that's okay. We should be able to, if somebody doesn't get asked for question 4, for example, we want to make sure that we're handling that and reflecting that in the spreadsheet. So what we're going to do is start an execution and watch it flow through the process so we can see our Google Sheets actually update. So from here, I'm going to wipe out this instance of the function. We're just going to initiate one function. So I'm going to go to my script, and I'm just going to run this batch survey request language support script. If you have questions about how the script works or need a reminder, go back to the previous video that talks more specifically about what this is doing in order to initiate that execution. So I'm going to run this function, and it should just take a second for it to come through. So we can see that that's active here. And then I think if we refresh this page in Twilio, we should see there's an active execution as well. Okay, perfect. So you can't see this, but I'm picking up my phone and I have a message from Twilio. It's the intro question. So I'm going to just answer that with a 1. And then it prompts me to answer question 2. I'm going to answer that with a 2. Before I send that response over, let's go to our table here and think about what we expect to happen. So after I send this response over, Twilio is going to run this function, and it's going to read in these headers, figure out which headers it has information for. So does it have a phase header? Okay, does it have a date header? That's something that's set up in the function. Does it have an intro header? Or parameter, I should say. Does it have a Q2 parameter? On and on. So okay, so let's talk about what we have in our responses here. We have phase 1, that's what we would expect. Let's just pull up our function, phase 1. We have the date, that's just the date that we're doing this survey. We have intro 1, so I know that on my phone I responded with the 1, so that seems accurate. Question 2, I responded with the 2, so that seems accurate. Question 3 I didn't answer, so let's just double check what do we have associated as the value for question I have the intro body. So that just means I did not pair the value appropriately with the key. So I'll just update that. We can save that. And then question 4, we have no data. That makes sense. We didn't actually include anything for question 4. Same thing with question 5, and same thing with this other column, which I actually am not interested in. So I will just go ahead and delete that. So again, those are the way these match up. We want the headers to have an associated parameter when we're calling that function. And then we'll go ahead and see that in our Google Sheets. On my phone, I'm looking at the next question. So as soon as this function ran, it was successful. So it just continued with the survey. In the case that there is some sort of failure in the documentation, we explicitly talk about different ways to handle that so that you can recover from any failures. This could be for a variety of reasons. Something happened, something unintentional happened with the request to Google, or occasionally there's just transient errors when you're running serverless functions. So we want to make sure that we have something built in place to handle those errors. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this helped you understand a little bit more about how to implement this Twilio function on your own, and good luck building.